today. So if we're able to concentrate on that part of life, that's our upbringing. If we're able to concentrate on that part, then I think we'll find ourselves in a better environment. And by the time we are going through emotional experiences that can demoralize us, we know that we have backup. We know that we are resilient. We know that we can weather whatever storm we find ourselves in. And that is why we always want to concentrate on family. Here we treat different structures of family: nuclear family, extended family. We have talked about divorce, we have talked about blended family, we have talked about the children, but you see, they're very important. And that's why we're going back to talking about parenting. What are we doing wrong? How are you raising your children? I believe you watched the two videos, and the first video you heard what that girl said. The children are knowledgeable. They have their own mind. So what are we doing to stunt? You heard that what that girl said. She said you're stunting their emotions, you're stunting their growth. This generation, I always say that they have the right words to articulate everything they are going through. In those days, we are not able to talk about it this way, but they are able to articulate. And that is why we are treating this topic today. We don't want our children to grow up and they are emotionally damaged. We don't want our children to grow up and they are not doing well, and a little pressure, they just explode. And that is why we're talking about what are we doing wrong? Look at that woman. So her, that video was on Facebook. She was doing a Facebook Live. What do you think about that as parents? I even want to hear from us. What do you think, guys? Is that a good way to do it? She was on Facebook Live. She recorded that girl and she posted the video. And that is what she called discipline. I think we need to start paying attention to some of the things we are doing that is not helping those children. And that is why we are here. Today, I have two powerful parenting coaches, Nwaduto and Desola. I'm going to read their profile. Nwaduto, are you still here? Please say hello. Can you enable your camera so that we can see your face? Where's Nwa? Hi, Nwa.
My Zoom is saying unable to detect a camera. I don't know what that is. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to log off and log back on. I don't know what the issue is.
Yeah, please do.
So give me a moment. I'll be right back.
No problem. And I also have Desola Shoson. Desola, I'm always having issue calling that name, right? I have Desola Shoson. Desola is here. She's a parenting coach, and she's also a child protection advocate. I hope I got that right. I know she works with children too. Desola is a lead practitioner of the Daisy Place UK Limited, right? A certified practitioner of family systems engineering and parenting coach. She is also a teen mentor and a teacher, a seasoned trainer and facilitator. Desola equips parents with skills and resources to become the best person to raise outstanding individuals who go to make their mark on the world. Welcome, Desola. Good evening. Nice seeing your faces.
Hello. Good. It's morning in Nigeria as well. So good morning. Thank you for having me. Nice to see you, sis. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Desola, for always making yourself available to us. So I'm going to read Nwaduto's profile so that we'll continue while we're waiting for her. Desola will take over and give us what she has for us for this morning. Nwaduto is a certified project management professional and a certified risk management professional. She has practiced project management for over 12 years Her drive is to know people and leave them in a better state and to lead them in various courses. As a life coach, Unwa has studied neuro-linguistic programming, emotional freedom techniques, and metrics reimprinting. She did courses in emotional intelligence and positive parenting. As a certified life coach and therapist, she bridges the gap between parents and adolescents by building an environment where both parties gain clarity and are empowered, so they can feel understood, in control, and fulfilled to accomplish their goals as parents and their adolescents to thrive on their way to self-discovery. She is a lead coach at Enliven Coaching Academy. Enliven Coaching Academy is a life coaching, NLP, and EFT platform focused on teens, young adults, and their parents, making them become better versions of who they are and do a general mindset overhauling, which leads to change in every facet of life. With this bio I just read, I'm sure you know that Desola and Nwadio are actually the best hands to handle this topic. And the method I want to use today, usually we do question and answer, but I want them to give us what they have. We have all watched the videos, and as we are thinking and meditating in whatever way about the method that we have seen in the two videos, I want us to write our questions. So we're going to write our realities are different. Some people are here, they have 6-year-old. Some people are here, they have 11-year-olds. Some are here, they have 20-year-olds. So I want us to think about it, and please let's ask questions. Don't let us be silent today. This is the last parenting thing we're going to do for this year. And so I want us to ask questions. I have my own questions, but I want us to ask questions too. So is Unwa back? Nwadio, are you back? Are you back in the room? Okay, Unwa is not back, but we can have Desola. Desola, I yield the mic to you at this point.
Okay, thank you once again. Thank you for asking me. And everywhere I get to speak with parents, I am particularly excited because, like Evan said, the family is the production unit of society. If we get it right in the family, then there's hope. And every chance I get to support parents, I'm grateful for that opportunity because it tells me that there is hope. Like she said, parents, there are a lot of adults walking around with interesting. As therapists, we see a lot, we hear a lot, and sometimes, most of the time, you can trace their tracking back to their childhood. And the people who engineered them were engineered as well. So it's not like we're blaming them. But the truth is, as a parent, is what you have that you pass on to your child. And we've come to realize that we're all able to say we didn't like it when we were being treated that way when we were young, but we repeat it. We repeat that behavior. We
Is that my network or Desola?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Probably
okay.
That's my network, but I can hear you now.
Okay.
Guys, please, okay, they said I can hear you, so that's my own network. No problem, just share.
Right. So we have to pay particular attention to our parenting because it costs the future. It costs everyone who comes in contact with the child that you've raised, the person who works with them, the person who marries them, the person who lives next to them, the person who interacts with them in any capacity. They're able to affect their lives in varying ways, and we need to take responsibility. Now, I was asked what I thought of the video. Now, personally, I think we should watch the first one over and over and over again, and everybody should just go home and sleep, because that lady, her articulation was fantastic. She dealt, as in she talked about everything. She picked every little issue, and I salute the mother that raised her to be so assertive and to be able to deliver her thoughts in a coherent manner. Now, the second one, gosh, I don't even know where to start unpacking that, because to hear that she put it on Facebook is worrying. for an adult to think about all the choices that they have and settle on that, to put her child on blast on Facebook. And well, at the end of the day, she didn't put her child on blast, she put herself on blast, because you raised that child. You know, it's interesting that you think your child is to be held responsible, your minor is to be held responsible for behavior that you managed to install in them. If as old as she is, she cries because you asked her to wash dishes, then it's not her. The reproach is not hers. And my Yoruba people will say is abuku. The abuku is not the child's, it's the parents, it's the person who raised her. So for her to be so upset and to cry, and you're not able to find a way to communicate your expectations to her, and she feels so broken. And so children are dramatic, yes, but she felt so strongly about it. And the next best thing you could do was put her on Facebook. I mean, I don't even know where to start unpacking that. And that is so unfortunate. So back to our topic. We were supposed to talk about what parents are doing wrong. Yesterday, I read about I think that the hashtag was Lagos Dropbox. I don't know who is aware of this. And some boy was able to gather nude pictures of minors, young girls, in schools like Green Springs, Chrisland. That's what allegedly, because I didn't see the material. And they posted these pictures on the internet. Okay, they posted a link, put it in a Dropbox folder, and posted a link on the internet. And these are young children. And I just thought, what would inform the decision of a child to take pictures of themselves undressed and send to a boy? Now, I'm not trying to suggest that it's so out there and so weird, because it does happen. But the question is why? Why? Why would a child be susceptible to those tendencies? And in relation to our subject that we're discussing today, as to why, what parents are doing wrong, why are children like this? Why are children thinking like this? Children who have lived with us, apart from suffering emotional trauma because they existed with some kind of parents in their youth, why are children of this generation so susceptible to all these kind of attacks, videos here and there, a child sometimes being abused, and that's unfortunate, very, very sad, but being willing to make their pictures available to boys and to girls and record themselves doing sexual activities. It's just so out there. Okay, it's just so out there for me. And it's a good question. What are we doing wrong? How did we arrive here? Okay, how did we arrive here? And I've listed 7 things that I think all parents should be aware of. If you're not doing all 7, I'm happy for you. If you're not doing all 7 wrong, I'm happy for you. If you are, this is an awareness moment for you. And like I said, every opportunity to shed some light on parenting, I think we should grab it with both hands, because we can't see every side. We have our lives as parents. Fine, we've taken the responsibility to be responsible for these children, but we have other things that are going on. So it's important for us to stay in conditions such as this, and relate with fellow parents, leverage the opportunity that IFED, organizations like IFED provide, because we're able to learn and we're able to become aware and become sensitive to certain things. If you don't know it, if it is not somewhere in your radar, you can't look out for it. You're not even aware that it is happening. Okay, so I've mentioned nudes now. There's this other thing about balloons going on, about putting this gas, that nitrous oxide, I believe, in little balloons, and children would accept it from unsuspectingly, because they don't know any better. They're not out to harm themselves, yeah? But they collect it, and some of them have ended up being paralyzed by it, okay? Because that's what's trending. Why is a child susceptible to what is trending? We all are victims of peer pressure on different levels. Okay, even as adults, we experience peer pressure. You look at somebody and immediately you're comparing. How am I doing? Am I doing better than this person? Is this person doing better than me? Are they wearing their net worth, or this is just a fraction of what they have? You know, you're constantly thinking and judging. It's a normal human tendency, but because we're adults, we're able to keep Some of us, okay? Some of us are able to keep those feelings in check and be able to rationalize and say, okay, this is not making sense. It's not working for me. But for children, their prefrontal cortex is not fully developed until 25. So they are not even supposed to be able to make certain quality of decisions, okay? So as parents, why or how do our children end up in these positions where they are making costly mistakes, costly errors? Why are they turning out this way? Again, I have 7 things on my list. This is not exhaustive, but I think this will be valuable information for you to know. Number 1, I think that some parents don't consciously decide on the kind of result they want from their parenting experience. They are not intentional about it. Intentional parenting is based on 2 premises. The first one is understanding that the time you have with your child is limited. Now, this does not mean that you're going to die young. This just means that the window of influence that you have on your child, where everything that you say will be taken hook, line, and sinker, is limited. UNICEF puts it at between ages 0 to 9. I would tell a parent up until age 7. That's the window you have. Whatever foundation that you want to lay, this is the window that you have to lay it. Unfortunately, some parents think, oh, children don't know anything yet. Very, very costly error, costly mistake. Children are aware. They're able to, even when they can't articulate it, their minds, the cells of their bodies are able to absorb influences. They're able to absorb and retain trauma that can show up later in life. So it is critical for you to be very close and very cautious of this window of your child's upbringing. Now, it does not suggest that if your child is older than this, there is no hope. No, it just becomes a little bit more difficult. It becomes a little bit trickier to manage, okay? So parents don't decide. They are not intentional. They've not sat down. I would hope that before you have the child is when you have this conversation, or with yourself and with the person you choose to have the child with. But even after having the child, there's no conscious decision that this is where we are going. We're trying to raise a wholesome, brilliant, smart, capable, all those positive adjectives, because clearing a path also reveals deciding on a destination also reveals the path that would help you arrive at that destination. And at the same time, it makes it clear what will not be beneficial for you. If you decide that you're going to England, for instance, you need to take a plane. So you're not heading to a bus stop. You know that you need to buy a ticket. The steps that you need to take to get to where you're going become apparent to you. So I think a lot of parents don't consciously sit with themselves, with their spouses, and decide, or with the people they're parenting with, they've not decided this is the results that we hope to achieve. This is where we're going. And I think that is something that a lot of parents need to do. You need to have a vision for your parenting. You need to decide this is the kind of child we're trying to raise. Obviously, it's not cast in concrete. As the child evolves, you may need to tweak it here and there, but you need to be clear on where you're going. Else you will fall victim to culture, for instance, or emotional situations where you're not stable. You're parenting based on what day of the week it is or what time of the month it is for you as a mom. But if you have principles, if you have values, and you decide this is where we're going, this is the kind of child we're raising, then you know what you're working towards. Next, I think a lot of parents have not acknowledged their own trauma. You read on social media all the time when somebody comes out and says things like probably don't hit your child, and you find people actively fighting the thought of not hitting their own offspring, and they are worried, and you're like, gosh, what I just said is don't cause your child physical pain. Can you explore the ways of communicating with this child? And they're like, my mother beat me and I turned out okay. Hello, no, you didn't quite turn out okay, because you're somebody has suggested something to you. You're not even taking the time to contemplate it and think about it and say, okay, if you say I shouldn't do this, what can I do instead? We're not able to hold 2 thoughts at the same time, right? So I think a lot of people have been traumatized by the people that raised them. Again, those people raised them out of what is the content of their own person, how they were engineered, as we like to put it. So it's not their fault. They did the best they can. Question is, can you do better? Are you willing to contemplate better? And can you do better with your own opportunity to raise a child? Can you acknowledge that some things are not quite right? You may need some help here and there, and talk to a therapist, unpack, understand your journey, look at your tree of life, for instance, go through that therapy experience and accept that you need help, you need healing, so that you don't replicate what was done with you, even though you didn't appreciate it when you were experiencing it, so that you can raise your child from a person-centered, person-specific approach. Understand that the world that you grew up in is different from what your child is growing up in. For instance, understand that there was no social media when you were growing up. It was difficult to get access to certain materials, but the internet makes information widely available to anybody. I put a device in the hands of a 5-year-old and they can go to any extent, okay? Understanding that the world has changed, the world is in a different place, and that you need help, you need support, you need to unlearn what you've been taught, you need to approach learning, and you need to consistently relearn those things so that you're the parent that your child needs. Somebody said that 3 children can live in the same house and have different experiences of parenting. And this therapist, very wise person, said that 3 children cannot be raised by the same parent. Okay, now they have the same set of parents, but they don't have the same reaction to each child because each child is different. And as a human being, you respond to you respond to a person's how do I put it? You respond to how a person approaches you. Okay, so if a child is quiet, the child is reserved, the parent who is ordinarily boisterous would react or behave to that child a different way. If the middle child, for instance, is more of the boisterous type, if the parent is quiet, the parent will react to that child a different way. And the 2 parents are different, you see. So at any given time, a child is experiencing a side of the parent that is unique to them, based on the parent's experiences, based on how aware they are or not. Okay, so a parent should understand that your child is different. If you have 3 children, you need to be 3 sets of people to the children, because what they need, what they desire, what they require from you, they can be different and they can be unique. So you need to be able to let go of the inhibitions that you have, the contents of your own engineering, and then be the parents that they need to succeed. Number 3, a lot of parents are not investing the time that is required into knowing their own child. So it's important to know your own unique child. If I ask now, what is your child's love language? I don't know how many parents can correctly articulate that, because they've probably not gone through any form of analysis, or they've not even spent enough time to be able to observe that, okay, when I do A, this child reacts a certain way. When I do B, there's a certain deeper access that I have to the mind of this child. Like the lady in the video, if she understood her child well enough, the child didn't need to cry because she was asked to clean the dishes. If the child appreciated words, with words you can motivate a person whose love language is words to do just about anything, which is also dangerous anyway. But as a parent, if you understand that this is what you can motivate your child with, then you do it. So obviously, clearly, she didn't know her child well enough, right? So a lot of parents have not taken the time, they've not engaged professionals, they've not used tools available to them to know what their child's personality type is, for instance, to know what their love language is, to know how they learn, to understand their uniqueness, so that that person-centered approach that I talked about earlier can be developed, and you can be the exact parent, the specific parent that your child needs per time. Number 4, a lot of parents don't have family systems. Systems are fantastic in the sense that they're able to be consistent. They're not based on how you're feeling on that day. They're not based on what somebody said or culture or whatever. They're based on proven structures. They're science-backed structures that you can implement in your home, family systems that is, and will give you specific predictable results. That's one fantastic thing about systems. And if you do it right, the system runs itself. So you're not there micromanaging, checking every now and again, is everybody in line? No, the systems keep everybody in track. Even you as the parent, you're subject to those systems. And what are the systems that I'm talking about? We're talking about the governance system, which is how leadership is run in your home. What are the principles that you put in place? We're looking at the family constitution, the family values, the family creed. What are those things that direct the affairs of your family? Okay, so that's the governance system, the communication system. How do you communicate? What are the standards and what are the rules that you go by? Do you use the sandwich method, or do you use the 5-chair method, or whatever? What have you decided that this is how we will talk to each other in this room? in this family, remember, you are subject to those systems as well. So it's not even about you. It is that as a family, this is who we are, and this is what we're going to abide by, right? There's the educational system, which determines the intellectual firepower of members of the family. So how do we want the members of this family to think, right? Going back to what we said initially, deciding on the kind of child or the kind of family that we're trying to evolve into, who are these people and how do they think? What do they need to know? So you develop a personal curriculum for your child. If you're raising a world changer, for instance, they need to have a global world view. They cannot be subjected to African magic all the time. They can't have a global worldview like that, okay? So you want to expose them to information. You want to leverage the internet. You want to ensure that maybe on a scheduled basis, they're watching videos on the internet. You're using their screen time positively, okay? Not just for games and to pass time. No, you're leveraging on the accessibility of information to expand the worldview of your child. So even if you can't take them abroad, it doesn't mean they don't know what going abroad looks like. They don't know how the Sydney Opera House was built, for instance. They don't know how the London Underground was put together, for instance. If you're raising a child with global awareness and sensitivity, okay? So you want to look at your educational system in your family. Then there is the economic system. We're trying to build a family of this quality who will live in this place and all of that. The question now is, how do we fund it? What do we need to begin to do? How do we need to apportion our income? Who needs to be able to earn better? Who has more time now? Who can upskill so that we're able to achieve these dreams, so that we can fund these desires that we have for our family, right? Next, you want to look at your domestic management system. How are things done? I believe this is where a child gets a sense of order, a sense of what is okay, appropriate, inappropriate, right? How is the family set up? What is the environment like? How do we organize ourselves? And what is the refill status of certain items in the home, for instance? Or it is when you started cooking that you remember that there's no salt and then you run to the store. Okay, this is where a child picks up on some of these things, some of the behaviors that you see adults exhibit today. I met somebody was telling me about a family a while ago about how this person would buy food items in tiny quantities. And the person believes that you needed to manage your money such that you bought stuff in little quantities. That is what the person saw growing up. Okay, so somebody marries that person and the person is wondering, what kind of human being is this? Buy gallon of this and that. No, I have to buy it. It's what they were conditioned to. So what do you want your child to be conditioned to? You have to pay attention to these things so that you're raising a particular kind of person who thinks a certain way, who reacts to situations a certain way, right? Next is the immigration or security system in the home. How is the child protected? What does the child know about their bodies? How do we approach sex education? How do we allow people into the home? Can somebody just drop by and have a sleepover? Are the children allowed to just visit somebody and then the person makes a random suggestion? Why don't they stay the night? And you're like, oh, that's fine. No preparation, no talking to, no ground rules, no nothing. Okay, so you want to have conversations around these things and create a system that everybody abides by, that everybody is subject to. As a parent as well, you can't just go off and not let anybody know where you are. You understand that you need to check in. If this is done when a child is young, then you don't need to tell your 18-year-old, if you're going to be out late, you need to call. The child already knows that this is what we do in our house. It's not when they are grown that you now start making rules for them, or when they are getting married. That thing is very, very odd. When the child is getting married, that's when you now call them to the room and you say, remember, this is what at 30 what, or at 20 what. You see, so you need to take note of these things and install those systems in the child. And then there's nutrition. How do we eat? And then there's family wellness system. How do we look after our bodies? What is our relaxation method? How do we engage in recreation? What do we do for fun? And all of that. Number 5, we have 3 more to go. Number 5 is that a lot of parents, one mistake that they're making is that they're not chasing after knowledge. They're not trying to know better. They think that they're okay with what they know. Okay, I've alluded to this earlier, but it's important for you to understand that human behavior, for instance, has been studied since the 1800s. If there's science to back behavior, then you should know what that science is and know how to apply it to your own family, to understand that there is a function of behavior, for instance. And when your child does something, you can't look at it on the surface level. Okay, there's an underlying reason for that behavior. And if you can handle that reason, say a tantrum, for instance, if you take what is the source of that issue away, then the behavior itself goes away. If the child is acting out because of attention, then you understand that you cannot feed that behavior. Otherwise, the child thinks it's okay. When I want attention, I should act out and my parents will respond accordingly. But if you understand that the tantrum is due to hunger, for instance, and you are curious rather than taking a position and saying, look, I know that when a child misbehaves, it's because they are naughty and that's final. No. If you're curious, you understand that, okay, this child hasn't slept. That's true. We've been out all day. This child needs to have a lie down. Then you know that if you can provide sleep, that tantrum behavior goes away. Okay. So we need to be curious as parents. We need to understand that we're raising human beings who have autonomy, who have a right, who have a will that is God-given, if you will. Okay. They have that sense of I am my own person. So how do you leverage this? Because you don't want to take that power away. You don't want your child not to be able to stand their ground for something that they believe in. You want them to be able to communicate that, like that young lady did, okay? Talking to adults in a group and being assertive. You want that your child to be able to have that. And like she said, her mom said, I know you're not trying to be rude. It's your delivery that's the problem. Okay, so you want your child to be able to say, okay, you can check me, that's fine. I trust you enough for you to tell me, okay, that's not cool, or say it a certain way, say it another way. You're not taking what they're saying away because they're making sense. Okay, sometimes our ego gets in the way and we think this child is pointing out my bad behavior to me. It's an opportunity for you to learn. Okay, so we need to pursue knowledge as parents. We need to be more aware. We need to understand, we need to attend classes, we need to take courses. Parenting is a skill like any other. The way every year you have a personal development budget, parenting should be part of that personal development, okay? Because as your child grows, you need to grow as well. You need to change, you need to evolve, to be constantly become the parent that child needs at different phases of their lives. Number 6, some parents are not committed to cultivating a strong bond with their children. So you've not set up structures, you don't have family activities, you forget that the atmosphere in your home determines how your child will grow up, and you have power to condition that atmosphere. Now your child will make mistakes, they will have missteps like you do. Okay, allow me to remind you that you're not perfect yourself. Okay, but how you respond to those mistakes is what will let the child know that it's okay to make mistakes, but we just need to learn from them. Or once I've made a mistake, I'm finished, that's the end of my life, I have no use in this world anymore. It's your reaction, and it can be a split second decision. It can just be you learning to take a breath when your child has done something that is not right, so that you can go upstairs, as they say, go to your upstairs brain and leave your fight and flight mode, leave your reptilian brain response and go upstairs and think of an appropriate reaction. That's where you can remember all these things that we've talked about, because when you're upset, you forget and you want to react, you want to, give fire for fire, but is that the best environment for your child to learn? Jim Quick said, all learning is emotion dependent. If you're in a positive emotional state, you're able to learn. When you're shouting at your child, you're not learning anything. Everybody's just exchanging noise, okay? And the child also is picking up the fact that it's okay when you have a bit of muscle and you're taller than somebody, you can shout at them, and that's okay. They think it's an appropriate method of communication. But if you're able to show a good example, cultivating a bond, ensuring that there's an environment where everybody's at peace with each other, we can make mistakes, we're all family at the end of the day. Love is is the atmosphere that we want in the home. It's important for you to be able to do that on a consistent basis. Okay, you understand that rules without relationship would eventually lead to rebellion, because at some point the child will just be like, if I don't answer you, so what's going to happen? And then the child realizes, oh, all this while they didn't even need to do what you've been saying. Okay, and then because there's no, what can you do? Are you going to take a knife out? No, you're going to walk away, and you're going to then have to start thinking of damage control. But you want to get ahead of this. You want to ensure that you have open communication lines with your children. Ensure that you're able to talk at any given time. We're both upset, but we can still talk. Another useful tool there is your love language. You understand that if this child is angry with you, you've made a mistake, you've done something, you've said something. But if you know what their love language is, if you know that they have a thing for ice cream, for instance, you're able to say, I've got ice cream for you. I know there's this joke on social media about how African parents don't say sorry, and they just tell you, come and eat, or they tell you, try this, it's a very funny video, try this top, and let's see if it fits you. Anyway, it's your own. No, that's not what I'm talking about. But it's just you trying to bridge the gap at that point in time where there's an impasse between you and your teenager, for instance, and you're able to reach them and speak a language that communicates love to them beyond words. Okay, so if you know it is a touch thing, then you can hug them. You're angry, okay, but you are the adult. You're able to put your emotions in check, and you want that environment to stay positive so that you're able to build a good relationship with your child. And finally, community. Community is critical, okay? We must understand that every child is somebody's child. And there's this idea that you just need to raise your own child a certain way and not look out for other children. Well, guess what? Your child is not going to live in a bubble. They're going to coexist with other people. So as parents, we need to have a village community mentality. Speaking up for children has to be a normal thing. It's how we deliver it that is usually the problem. Okay, we come across as nosy and as judgmental. No, if you approach it with the perspective of, if this was my child, I would expect, if my child behaved a certain way, I'd expect a well-meaning, well-thinking adult to step in and have a conversation with this child. Respect has to be at the foundation of those conversations. So we need to speak up for children. We need to use our influence for children around the world. If you have some form of political clout, you need to ensure that children are protected and looked after, because they are the future. Your child is going to marry somebody, they're going to work with somebody, they're going to live next to somebody, they're going to hire somebody. If you need to, as an employer, you need to start telling your employee, come early to work. It means some parent somewhere has dropped the ball where they didn't install punctuality and showing up on time into their own children, okay? But as a society, as a community, we need to support and look out for children so that we can ensure that our pockets of light would eventually illuminate our continent. For instance, Africa as a continent. If we can focus on that and we raise our children with a sense of responsibility, Charles is a fantastic way to do that. Raise our children with a sense of responsibility and a sense of purpose. Let them know that they are here for a higher purpose. They're not just here for themselves to be got and go. It has to be beyond that. We need to raise our children with this consciousness. A child that has a positive sense of self and self-esteem and knows that they're here for a higher reason is less likely to engage in risky behavior like drugs, because they know that, look, I'm here to savior mentality. That's fantastic. That's something we teach at IFED. Savior mentality. Let the child know they're here for a purpose, they're here for a reason, and then they can go on to impact their world positively by putting all the resources that you have managed to install in them to use. Okay, that is my submission this morning, and I will keep quiet now.
Yeah, you said you'll keep quiet now. Please don't keep quiet for too long. We still need your voice. Thank you very much, Desola. That was a beautiful one that you have taken us through. And guys, I hope we are listening. Can you please appreciate Desola? Let's show Desola the family love. Thank you very much, Desola. I heard Desola talking from the perspective of, so if you still have children that are younger, still below that age of like 1 to 7, 8, 9, 10, please, this is so for you, because they can still take in all those things. By the time they are 11, they already formed their opinion. They have already formed their decision. They have already formed what they want to do. And it is usually very difficult. People don't understand when they say teenage. You just think they will just get to that age. That's not when they start behaving that way. No, it is an overtime accumulated, when they observe people, they see all those things. And by the time they are 13, they just feel, I have my own mind. Why do you want to tell me? And they are playing your card back to you. By the time they are 18, you are getting your report card, full-time report card, because you have, I don't want to say you're careless, but maybe because you did not know, and that's why we are doing all this. Let's pay attention to all these things. Desola has touched a lot of things. He said we should have vision. That's all these things with the end in mind. What kind of child do you want to raise? Do you just want your child to be just like any other person? That will guide you towards the system and the style that you're going to use, right? Even Jesus Christ said, oh, for the end, have the end in mind. Jesus Christ, because of what he will achieve, the crown, so he was able to go through all that. So you should be able to speak. Let because of what you want to get at the end, because of the kind of child you want to form at the end, can you please go through all that you need to go through with these children? They will shout, they will scream, but because of what you're looking at, you want to pattern them. You want to follow all those things, invest your time. Even you should learn, unlearn, and relearn. Very important. And the truth is, life is evolving. Desola said a lot about that. Life is evolving. We can't use the old curriculum for this generation. We can't. Life is, a lot of things are changing. You are learning how to use the system. They are born into it. Desola cites an example of give a 5-year-old a gadget. I will navigate it and we operate it live. You have to be looking for somebody to say, so what are we? Because that is the way their brains are wired. They are just into it. So a lot of things have changed and we need to start learning. We can't say this enough. We keep saying it on this platform that the curriculum has changed and we need to be compliant with what's the curriculum, the new rules of parenting. Desola also talked about the governing systems. She mentioned a lot about that, your immigration and security system, the people you're allowing into your houses. Who are they? Are they ready to comply with the rules and the values that governs your family? Because if they are not ready to do that, your children will want to copy whatever it is they're doing, forgetting that there is a value system that the family runs by. So we need to pay attention to all this, please. Thank you, Desola. That's a very beautiful one. And guys, you guys not show Desola love. It's only Unwa. Okay. Oh, I can see. Oh, thank you very much.
Yes.
I think I can see now. Thank you very much for doing that. So we're going to have Unwa Dilto. Unwa is also going to take us through, and questions are already dropping. So I want us to take all the questions together, but let's have Unwa, what are we doing wrong as parents? And what do you think we can do? A lot. I'm sure you watch the videos. A lot is happening to our children, a lot. They are finding themselves, they are so confused, and it's easy for them to commit suicide, So I want you to please talk to us. We have parents in the house and family meeting. We are open-minded. We are raising global citizens. We are raising saviors who will take over the future. And we want to put in the right things into them. But, if we don't know, we can't give what we don't have. And that's why we are here to learn. Thank you very much, Unwa. Welcome once again to Family Meeting.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. This is a great privilege and opportunity. And thank you very much, Desola, for that. You did a perfect foundational platform. You laid it so well. And I'll save us and spare us all the details that she has already taken already. Because at the point I was like, Desola, you have talked all the talk. Let's be going on. But then I'll just be adding a little bit on the structure. I'll be trying to form a structure on this foundation that Desola has helped us to lay. So the first thing I would like to start off with is our first job as parents is to love our children, no matter what, and even if. No matter what they do, and even if they break our hearts 1,001 times. That is our first job. So whatever other thing you're going to be doing should be coming off from a place of this love that we say we have for our children, because you realize that it is easier to do many of the things it is that we want to do for them, with them, when we're doing it from a place of love. There are many things that we wouldn't be doing to our children when we say we love them. So no matter what it is that they do, I don't know the worst thing that your child has done. And then I want us to say, think about the things that you did as a child, as a teenager, as an adolescent, and you are still here, you are alive, meaning that you weren't killed either. So if your life was spared, then it means that your parents took all the things that you did. So it's giving us a cue to say, we are also capable to take up whatever it is that our children might be doing. So love them no matter what they do, regardless, irrespective of what they do. That's our first job as parents. Then, most times that I hear many people say, oh, parenting is hard, parenting is difficult. I want us to change that belief here, today, and now. I know there are many things that we could tick off to say, oh, parenting is very hard. Do you know what they did yesterday? If you saw my child, oh yeah, there are many stories. In fact, I have many clients that are waiting to see me and all of that. But then I want us to have this mentality that parenting is not as difficult as we say it is. I want us to see parenting as somebody almost threw a stone on me when I said parenting is fun. The person said, fun? Where are your children? Show me yours. And I'm like, I've had my fair share. It's not as though it's a lovely sail through all the way. But when you have this mentality that parenting is fun, it is easier. And then I was able to come to a conclusion of my own definition of parenting, as parenting is me discovering me. Parenting is me discovering myself. Hence, I should enjoy the ride. Desola said something, and you realize that many of the things that we're doing is from a place of how we were dealt with, the things that we went through. So the traumas that we had, the way we were brought up, that's the same thing that we're doing now and trying to impact on our own children. So it's either we have parents that say, my parents did this, I will never do this. Or we have parents saying, my parents did this, I turned out right, and this is exactly the same way I'm going to be doing it. When a child comes home with a bad result, a parent is screaming and yelling, then it makes me wonder, I say, why are you angry exactly? What is upsetting you about the result of this child? So there is something underlying there. And then I'm going to be speaking about me a little bit. I used to be very irritable, highly irritable, especially around my children. When they are doing things that are just making me, and I'm like, will you take dressing? Come on, take correction. And I'm so very touchy, very edgy, very fast. Before you know it, until I came in contact with a coach. And after he did some dealings with me, went to therapy, went to several things. And by then I was already counseling children. So don't think it's just now that I was already counseling as in that 15 years back down the line. I've been working with children, teenagers, adolescents, and their parents. But I was very edgy, very irritable. And by the time we were able to go through and dissect and do all of that, I found out that it is things that I've been dealing with back then, growing up and all of that was beginning to show itself. So yes, my parenting was revealing me back to me. And I had to learn and know who I was. And we're on this journey together. So when something happens that makes me react in a way I don't like, yeah, I'm aware now, I'm more aware. It's easy for me to catch it and say, where is this coming from? What's going on? And I think every parent should be aware of this too. So anything that is turning you off, that is making you take things the way you shouldn't be taking it, pay attention to it. Why is it taking you off the way it is taking you off? There is something going on the inside of you that you need to resolve so that you can put in your best in parenting that child. Then, thirdly, I will say, recognize that our children are first human. They are human beings. They are first human beings, and then they are children. And but it's rather unfortunate that sometimes the expectations we have of our children are very unrealistic. We as parents have had how many years of experience of life? 20, 30, 40, 50 years of life experience. And then we are looking at somebody that is 10, 11, 12, in fact, 5, 2. Be prim, be proper. And I'm like, he said, 2 years old. You need to scatter everywhere. Why will you not scatter everywhere? He said, what is expected of a 2-year-old? You see a 15-year-old, like, why are you popping your color? He has to pop the color. Why you will not pop the color? So many things. We expect that they should be making decisions the same way we would. They should be doing things the way we would, with the kind of experience we've had. I mean, if we should take a random sampling of those of us on this call, we'll find out that many of us we have several certifications, several degrees. I mean, you did not only do life and do life experiences, you've been trained, overtrained. You've seen things, and then a child that is in primary school. You have not even do SSC. He's still in secondary school, and we expect that this child should be prim, proper, and be doing several things. It can work. And I like that Desola was able to speak about the limbic system and how the frontal cortex is yet developing and all of that. We tend to forget because they are showing some level of maturity. We sum them all to be adults. They are not. They are children and would behave like children sometimes. So sometimes we need to backtrack and remind yourself that, okay, this is a human being, first off. This person is a human being, so should be treated as one. We wouldn't go out and shout at our bosses or whoever it is you work for and tell the person to keep quiet and listen to me. I'm speaking, you should be quiet to your boss. Maybe because of the consequences attached to it. Or even, I say to most people that we are kinder to people outside of our home than we are to the people that are inside our homes. But then we say to our child, will you sit down there? I'm talking, you are talking. And I'm like, okay. So the child will be quiet forever. So when the child now needs to be speaking, the child wouldn't be speaking. So the child is not telling you stuff. The child is not sharing anything because you have silenced the child. And most times we do this unconsciously, but we need to be aware most of the time. And then this brings me back to the first point that Desola raised, saying we should be intentional. This has become a catchphrase, and I was glad that she did justice to that. Everybody's talking intentional parenting, and I was glad that she helped us say what intentional parenting is all about, because everybody now, I'm intentional about parenting my children. I say, what are you intentional about, really? Where are you going? Where is the child going? The child does not even know where you are taking him to. How will the child follow you to where you are going in your head? You that don't even know where you are going to, the child. So you need to begin to know where you are headed. What do you want to begin to see in your child? 10 years from now, 20 years from now, where's your child headed? Where do you want your child to be? Begin to instill these things. And when the child is old enough, tell this child where you think the child should be headed. The child will also have a conversation with you and say, okay, that's a good place to go, but I think if we add this on the journey, it wouldn't be bad. Now you're having conversations, you're consolidating these things, and you are moving right where it is that you need to be. So every year you are jotting down, okay, maybe this year we should take on this, take on this, take on that. And you're moving because the time you have with your child, like Desola said, is limited. You don't have forever. In fact, when she said something, I laughed a bit. During wedding ceremonies in churches, and then, sorry, I'm a Christian, in churches, and then the pastor is taking 1 hour, 30 minutes, is preaching. Love your husband. I'm like, they're not listening. The wife is thinking of the caterer. The caterer that have not picked a course since yesterday. Is the rice done? Are you at the venue yet? There is no magic you can perform. When parents call the couple into her room and she's talking nights before wedding, it's not working. It's not working. She's thinking the shoe that I buy, is it going to match with that dress? The work to be done is now. This is now. This is the time to do the work. Because once they are gone, they are gone. And there is, all you can do is to begin to suggest and not shove it down their throat. And that takes us to the next point. Suggest to your children. Don't be the fixer. Watch them come to their own decisions. As long as it's not a thing of life and death, leave them to make their own mistakes. let your children make their own mistakes. That's the only way to learn. That's the only way to learn. If our children don't make mistakes, they wouldn't learn. Our children will grow up waiting and saying, okay, daddy has been doing the thinking for me since. What should I be doing right now? They are clueless. They do not know the next step or the next thing that they should be doing because we've been telling them, dishing instructions on things that should be done. We should watch them. Watch your children thrive. Watch the children grow. It will help them a lot. It will go a long way for them. Then the last point I'm going to be speaking on is disciplining, threats, and teaching. Let's spend more time teaching and educating our children than disciplining and threatening. There's a place, of course, for discipline. And then when we speak about discipline in this part of the world, it's more like cut off the head of the child. Let's just crucify the child. And when she spoke about how people debate about flogging the child, this was on live TV. I was speaking, and then when I spoke about not flogging the child, the calls, the number of people that called in, it multiplied by a great potential, and they were ready to tear me down, and they were going at me and all of that. Well, I was like, okay. So when you make a mistake, when we make mistakes as parents, who flogs us? I want to know who beats us and who puts us in check. Who? Nobody does that. But then we feel it's okay to beat a helpless child, a child that is helpless and doesn't know better. So when your child doesn't get something right, teach it. It means there's a loophole. So teach it. After we have taught it and they still make a mistake, teach it again. They make a mistake, we teach again. That is our job. We keep teaching. We do not stop teaching. We continue teaching. And when we make statements like, you better do this or that, or I will take away your this, there's a place for that. But when that is always our last resort, you have traded your respect for consequences most of the time. So what your child is afraid of is the king or their pleasures and not you. So they are not respecting us, the parent. They do not want the consequence of things taken from them. And that's not what we want. We want to be able to speak and have conversations with our children, and they listen, they obey. So there is a way to go about it. Yelling is not working. Shouting is not working. Beating is not working. It means we should change what it is that we're doing. Einstein says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. So after you've tried all of that, it's not working, then change it. Change what you're doing. Try speaking with your child. They have ears, they can hear. Have conversations with your children. Ask them questions. Want to know what is their intention. Okay, when you poured water into a large, this is real life now. When you poured a large cup of water inside that pot of soup, what was your intention? And I'm like, that is the only soup. What are we going to eat? Okay, what was your intention? I want to know what was your intention. Say, that the soup looked small, so maybe I wanted to make it more. And I'm looking at the guy and I'm like, okay, we will look at the soup, but that's what we are eating. So anything that happened to that soup, we eat it like that. But then I can imagine me doing that with my mother, looking at me. And then I would have found another soup. Maybe it's me that would have found a pot of soup that night or something. But then that's the way you ask questions. Know why. Know why they did what they did instead of just shutting them down, punishing and beating them up. Thank you very much. I yield my mic here.
Oh, whoa. That was another one, guys. Can you please celebrate Coach Unwa Diltor in the chat box? Thank you so much, Coach Unwa. I love the perspective with which you came in. That's so beautiful. Coach Unwa has, she said she was going to build on the foundation Desola has laid, and exactly that is what she has just done. Unwa went into the psychological part of parenting, talking about love, believe, paying attention. Of course, Isola talked about that too, but you know, she built on it. Love, love. No matter what they do, love them, right? I can hear Hunwa saying that we should be able to separate the behavior from the person. You don't want to kill your child. You will help the child to stop the behavior. You're not going to kill your child, but most of the time what we do is kill the child. And the child sees the behavior as, oh, and just like she said, some of them just go mute. They don't want to say anything again because they don't even expect, they don't know how else you will react or respond to whatever behavior they. So we are not to kill the child, but we should concentrate on the behavior. Thank you so much. And with love, that's the only thing, that's the only way we can do that. She also talked about belief, saying that parenting is hard. That's what we tell ourselves. But as a man thinks in his heart, so what you look for, you will keep seeing. It will be becoming hard for you. And can we change the perspective? Can we change the narrative we have about parenting? And let's see how things will change for us. Even at that, you know, that was why I said she took it from the psychology part, because by the time you change your perspective, your belief about something, the way you see that thing changes, and it will automatically affect the way you feel about it, and the way you react or respond will also change. That's a beautiful one, Coach Onwa. Thank you so much. And you said we should pay attention to the feeling there is something eating us up. We have said that countless of time on this program, to say that let's embrace therapy. Our parents thought they disciplined us, but they domesticated us. And that has affected a lot of things about us. That has affected the way we see life. That has affected. And so most of the time we are projecting our fears on these kids. We're projecting our fears on these kids, and we can do it in a better way. We can do it in a better way. Thank you so much. She also talked about our expectations. They are human. They are human. I like that analogy of we have been learning. You know, I can imagine my age, those number of years I have been, I was learning, and I'm expecting a 10-year-old. So just reason, we just expect that thing will just jump on them. Without, can't you think about what? Think about what, mommy, I can't see what you're talking about. I can't see. And that's where she talked about the prefrontal cortex, not mature like the adults own. We can reason logically, but they just want to do it. That's them. It is the age. So if you understand all those things, you will be able to know how to interact and relate with those children. Then she said we should not be a fixer. Suggest to them, give them ideas. It is not one way. Life is not about one way. There are different ways. The cup is either half full or half empty. We should not, don't tell them what, let them explore, let them go through the process and learn and arrive at the answer. It doesn't have to be your own way. I think it is high time we start looking at things from this perspective, to say that if we do that, then we are helping even our children to exercise their brain, their mind, and we are able to see even how their mind works fast. And by the time you see that, okay, they are not really doing it, you can now suggest that, what do you think don't say, I said you should stop it. I said, this is what my daughter will be like, mommy, can you just wait? Can you just let me do it? Then you see. You know, if you have the ones that are very assertive, they will tell you. But a lot of us are already shutting our children's mind, shutting their mouth, which is not also helping them. And that is what that girl was saying, that see, if you if you shut us at home, some people are out there, they don't love us, but they want to listen to us. We'll go and talk to them And these are the implications. I really wish we are paying attention to the implications of all those things. At Family Center, Family Center Africa, we want our children, we don't want our children to add to the statistics of emotionally derailed children. You see, we have a lot of angry men, angry women on the streets. Any little thing, they snap. And it is because of what they have gone through. Thank you so much, Coach Onwa, for this beautiful one. Right now, we want to take the questions. And somebody sent a question to me privately saying that why is it that teenagers don't know how to express themselves? We have said that, but maybe one of you wants to. So he said, why is it that they don't know how to express themselves? That part of, mommy, you don't understand. There are times you say, tell me, just tell me, you don't understand. So Coach Onwa, what do you think about that question? And what do you think about that question? Why is it that children are not expressive? I'm sure some of us are experiencing it. Mommy, you don't understand. They arrived at that conclusion of, mommy, you don't understand. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That's a lovely question. It's not as though they say that as a shortcut, and then they say that because they also mean it. And it's possible that they have tried to tell you something previously, and then you didn't welcome it. So the reaction you gave is what has turned them off. So there is no better words that they have to come again to you, to tell it to you, especially when what they came to you to tell you before sounded like something very stupid. Mommy, did you see what the neighbor's daughter was doing? And then you're like, where? Go for B. You should have listened. She might be talking about herself. But just use style to talk about neighbors and look at the reaction you are giving. Which mouth will she now use to tell you now that it is how that she's the person? So our reactions most times, and I try to teach some parents, I say, have this plain, emotionless outlook. So just be emotionless. It is killing you. It is hurting. If you can't take it, just say, so if you want to use the toilet, then go to the toilet and scream into a pillow. Scream your heart out into a pillow, then drop the pillow, go back, compose yourself, and keep listening to the gist. Your child will always come back to you to tell you. So sometimes it's not because they don't know how to tell you or they don't want to tell you. They're actually looking for where to let out. They're looking for who would listen. But it's just that we have not created the atmosphere. We've not created the environment for them to feel comfortable enough to share with us. And this has to do with as a result of the way we have spoken about several things around us or happening around. Say, if my daughter ever tries that, if my son should try that, they're right there. And then you're saying this type of, they will not come because they know that my mother or my father will have my head. So it's not as though they don't know how to express themselves. Make the atmosphere conducive. Then there is also something I will say here. Ask questions that will gain clarity. Sometimes they might not have the right words. So you want to ask them questions, not closed questions. How are you? You will get a fine. How are you doing? You will get fine. What happened? You will get nothing. So you want to ask them questions that will lead to a discussion. So coin out the question properly and be able to ask them the questions that will lead to a discussion or a conversation. And I'm sure that will create an avenue for them to express themselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Onwa. That's a beautiful one. Desola, do you have something to say to that question?
Yes, if that's all right. First of all, I want to say well done to Coach Onwa. That was fantastic. That was the practical aspect. That was the day-to-day experience of parents. And I think I personally, I took a lot of notes and I'll be teaching it and I'm mentioning that I heard it from you, if that's fine. But fantastic session. Thank you very much. About the question, I think Coach has said everything. The fact that the atmosphere is not right is an indicator. And I think that we must also understand that, like you said, it's not at 18 or when the child becomes a teenager. That's not when they want to build that relationship with you. You need to practice when they are little, right? And Coach Onwa also said that have a plain emotional mind. You know what you do when your toddler comes to you and they come to tell you something meaningless, like, "Mommy, can you see this?" And they are so fascinated about it. Continue that way, okay? We tend to forget that children still need to feel that we're impressed by them, okay? Attention seeking is a natural human tendency. We all have it, okay? For your teenager, they still want to feel like you're interested in their life. So when they bring something to your attention or they come to have a conversation with you, your demeanor tells them everything. Are you putting away your device? Are you sitting up? Are you saying, tell me about it, what's going on? How you show interest is what's on regular stuff, is what will determine when they will bring those hard knots to your attention, okay? And saying that they can't articulate themselves is for you to teach them how to articulate themselves, okay? We've agreed that if your child does not know how to do something, your job is to teach. Parenting is discipleship. That's the role, that's the assignment. The assignment is to make them become the best version of themselves. So as a parent, if you've noticed that your child is unable to articulate themselves, first of all, you want to look at yourself as the primary source of influence for your child. If your child is behaving a certain way, you don't look outside first, you look in the home first. Who are the people this child is exposed to? If you are the kind of parent who does not pay attention, who is always on the phone, you want to check that first. So fix yourself first. Like Noah said, you want to let your parenting reflect you to you first. So heal yourself, recover from that, become a better person. And then when they bring things to you, when they're trying to say things like she said, open-ended questions, rather than are you happy? Are you okay? Are you happy is a fantastic question if you ask me, but you can ask open-ended questions like, what did you enjoy most about school today? And practice when they are younger. What was the most fun thing that you did today? What was the thing that you didn't like the most? I read recently about a question that a parent asked their children, what did you fail at today? The idea is to get the children comfortable with failure, which suggests that they are trying, okay? So you have an opportunity to teach your child how to perceive failure by asking questions like that when they are young, when it doesn't mean anything yet. When they now become older and they're writing exams or they're attempting things that they're trying things, they're comfortable with the idea of trying anything. It doesn't matter if I fail at it, as long as I'm trying. So like Abu said, now that they are young, if your children are young, do the groundwork now so that you can reap the benefits when they're older. If they're already old, start trying to get into their world. So don't wait until they bring things to you. Show interest in what they're doing without judgment. It's critical to emphasize without judgment. Your opportunity to learn will be shortchanged if you judge your child. If they feel any sense of animosity, they will clam up. And you don't want your child to clam up. You want them to bring issues to your attention. You want them to be able to approach you, even in their fumbling manner, even in their, you don't understand, let me try. And something Ebu said earlier about when you're talking with a child and they're saying, let me try it. Sometimes your experiences are the things that are limiting you. Can we be honest with ourselves?
Yeah.
Your experiences in life, the complexities of the things that you have seen, the people you have interacted with, you have met one member of this tribe, and you have embraced the concept of generalization, and like all people are a certain way. Your child has a simple approach to life. Leverage that. Okay, leverage that. Let your child be able to say things with simple. Let them try stuff. Sometimes you are wrong. Accept it. Sometimes it is because you are close-minded. That's why you are attempting the difficult way. The child, in their simplicity, they have calculated a shorter and faster way to get to the answer. By sitting with your child to do math, I'm not a very good example of this because my math is it needs work. Let's just put it like that. But if my child is saying, Mommy, let me try this, it will be wise for me to sit back and say, carry on. Is that the answer? I'll just use my phone, use calculator. Once they match, how we got there, that's not my problem. Okay, so as parents, we need to embrace flexibility, understand that these children see things a certain way, and allow them to evolve and let them explore that part of them. Yes, that's it.
Thank you very much, Bisola. Thank you, Unwa. And I want to at this time appreciate everyone still in the room till this time. Thank you for always joining. Like I always say, there's no family meeting without you. And so I appreciate and celebrate everyone on the call this morning. Oreke Atinuke, that's very hilarious. Yeah, you're going to get the recording. You said you would love to share with parents around you, especially your husband. That's very funny. Please share with Oga because it's the two of you, right? Thank you very much. The replay will be on YouTube, and all you just need to do is type Praise Forward on YouTube and you will see you will see the replay. You can watch from there. Thank you very much. There's another question by Amara. Amara Aloze, I can see your hands and I can also see that you have typed the question. Is it the same thing you want to say, or you want to unmute yourself to ask the question? Amara, are you still there?
I'm here.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
do you want to ask the question?
That's the question, and then I've also typed the second one.
All right.
A
All right.
child is
So
on TikTok with different names, and I just ran into her. That's how I got to know. So I have partly had to take away the cell phone from her, but it's affecting her homework because most of her homework are done online. So I have to take away the phone and ensure she does homework only when I'm home.
okay, Coach Unwa and Desola, we're running out of time, but I want you to please respond to that question. The first question she asked is, what can you do to a child who is intentionally stubborn? She said she keeps doing things wrong and keep apologizing. Then, of course, what she just said, what do I do for a child who is now on TikTok? You know, that's amazing. Please, Amara, please, can you indulge me? How old is the child we're talking
She's
about
12,
here?
she's a preteen, as my daughter.
She's what?
She's a preteen, she's 12.
12. All right, all right. So, guys, please let's do this. Thank you. I think we should start with Unwa, right?
Okay. A 12-year-old, maturity is not an age. That's what I usually say. We are the judge of how mature our children are to handle social media and all of that. But then I feel it will be wrong for us to introduce our children to something that we have not trained them or taught them how to handle. So, and I'm sure that the fear there is because we have not taught them yet the behavior on social media and how they should behave. And we are wondering how they will be while on it. But since you say you bumped in on her on TikTok, I don't know what she was doing and I don't know what you saw her do. So that's up to you and the reason why you needed to seize the device, because there are people who are younger on TikTok and they are doing well. So it is not about the device or social media. It is about what is done on it. It is the use and the misuse of social media. Our children are born into this. So we can't remove them. Even if you say my child must be 18 before I introduce them, the truth is, if you don't do the training that you need to do, educating them about social media, when they get there, they will still do what it is that they want to do. So let them know what the vices are. What are the vices on social media? What attitude should you have on social media? How can you use social media for your own benefit? And things like that, for entertainment, your benefit, educate the child so that the child knows that whatever internet sees, internet has seen forever. You cannot take it away. You cannot put it anywhere else. And that they are cyber bullies. Let them know that the things you see on social media is not necessarily the reality. Everybody is forming on social media. Nobody will come on social media and cry real cry. That cry said that they are crying, it is planned cry. So you are not certain as to what you are seeing. That's why it is the virtual world. So your child needs to be educated first about those platforms before you let the child go up on it. Then for the behavior for the child who is stubborn intentionally, I'm thinking, is this still the 12-year-old or is this a younger child? But then if it is a younger child, I don't think that child is intentionally being stubborn. There might be something, in fact, no matter the child, there is no intentionally being stubborn. There is something behind it. For every behavior, there is a positive intention. So that child is trying to get something. That is why the child is acting the way the child is acting. So like Ebon rightly said when she was giving her summary, separate the behavior from the child. So don't look past the stubbornness and find out what is this child trying to achieve. So let's look at that and then come from that angle to help the child. Okay, it just might be that this child needs your attention. I need your attention right now. You don't love me. Maybe if I throw this TV down, you will pay attention to me. So let's do that, So find out what the real issue is besides the stubbornness that the child is displaying. There is more to that story than has been shared. Thank you. I submit to Desola, please.
Thank you. I quite agree with you. Separating the child from the behavior is critical. Focusing on who the child is becoming is critical as well, because that way you're able to see the child away from what they're doing now, and you're focusing on who they're becoming and how you can help them get there. Understanding that everyone is on a journey, the child is on the journey. They might need this experience. Parents don't like to hear this, but we all need different experiences to become who we're supposed to become. So who are you to determine if your child needs to experience a little bump in the road? Maybe they need to build capacity. I'm not saying specifically to this situation. This is in a broader sense, yeah? So a child might need to experience, I don't know, repeating a class, for instance. Maybe there's something in their future that they need to be prepared for. They need to be able to understand and internalize that setback because of something that's happening tomorrow. You haven't seen the whole journey of the child. So we should be careful when we're making these decisions. And this labeling of stubbornness, I think we need to check that as well. We call our children names that they don't bear. Okay, what does intentionally being stubborn mean to you? What other alternatives exist? Okay, like Nwa said, how else can we interpret that behavior? How else can we look at it? Okay, why is the child behaving? Because there's an underlying reason. Okay, and what you call intentionally being stubborn as a pattern, if we unpack it, if we interrogate it, it might be a few instances that you have now used to describe this child as a person because of perception. Perception can become reality, and we need to constantly be aware of that. Okay, so a child has done something today, a regular mistake that a normal child should make, but because of where we're coming from, we're seeing it as she did it intentionally. We don't know that. We don't know that. We know a number of children who have failed in school because they couldn't see the board. Their parents thought they were being lazy or they were not making an effort. It was because their sight was bad. Okay, so I would encourage, approach your parenting with curiosity, ask questions, engage a professional if you think that somebody else might be able to get through to the child. And as per TikTok, again, the platform is not the issue. Okay, there's an 8-year-old who is a multimillionaire in dollars because he does YouTube videos of him unpacking toys. Now, if that was my child, YouTube is a miracle. You see, I would see YouTube as a testimony because then I don't have to work. I just need to manage this child, make sure he's happy. He has enough toys to unpack on a regular basis. I get a good camera, So the platform is not the issue. It's how we use it. It's what we think is okay to do on it. And what a child does on social media is a reflection of who they are in their regular life. So why don't we focus on that? If a child has the right sense of self, if their self-esteem is intact, then you don't have to worry about certain things being put on social media. And also educating the child on the risks of the internet, about how unreal it is and all of that is critical. We must also understand that the child needs to know that there's a possibility of dependency or addiction. Okay, now the child understanding this, they will not make the choice to avoid addiction on their own because they're children. They're not capable of deciding to step away from pleasure, even as an adult. Okay, we've talked about how adults even make poor choices. People who have had 40, 50 years of experience, they make choices and you're like, seriously, you're grown. You should know better. Okay, but they don't. And it's okay. We're all on a journey. Okay, so you have to take responsibility of ensuring the child doesn't become dependent on the device or the attention that they get from social media. If they're not getting it from home and they're looking for it on social media, then you know what the solution is. It's clear. Give them attention from home. They will not need strangers to comment and like their pictures to feel good about themselves. So let's examine what's happening behind the scenes. Why is the child on TikTok? How are you stumbling on the child on TikTok? That's a question. That's a red flag for me, because for a child to make a decision to go on that kind of platform, they should check with the parents. If the child understands that the device is mine, is on lease to you for so and so hours in a day, right? If they need it from homework, this is the purpose of the device. This is why you have access to the computer for such and such window. And at 8 o'clock, you hand it back to me because it's mine, you see? And you're saying it without animosity, without anger, because you're trying to have a conversation. And the child comes to that decision. I tell parents, parenting is like marketing. Okay, it's like sales and marketing. You're making a pitch. Every information you're passing across to your child is like a pitch. Your job is to tailor the pitch to the client, tailor the information to the client. You know this is what they need. You want to help them sell their products and all of that. But you're going to have to look at the client and look at how best to communicate with them. And that is how you prepare your conversation. You don't get angry when you make a sales pitch and the client doesn't buy. You smile to yourself and you go again. Yeah, that's what we tell ourselves. You try again. So we have to keep trying. We have to keep engaging these children in a way that best communicates our intents to them, because we want what is best for them. At the end of the day, we're looking out for their best interests. But if they don't see that, they don't feel that, they will fight it. Okay, so you need to learn. We talked about learning. You need to learn strategies. You need to be able to bypass conscious resistance in your child. Your child does not know they are doing what you want. They think they are doing what they want, and that's fine as long as what they are doing is fine. Okay, so we need to fight this tendency to be overbearing, to insist on our way. You give your child options. Those two options are still your own. They pick one, they think they have made a decision. You're, like Ebu said, you're teaching them to exercise their power to choose, to exercise their autonomy, because you want them to retain that capacity. You don't want them to stand in the midst of their peers and somebody is suggesting, can you take that and sniff it and tell me what you think? And it's looking weird to them. They should be able to stand up to their colleague and say, no, I'm not going to put my nose on that. That's unreasonable. Okay, but if as a parent you have shut them down repeatedly, they don't have a voice in the house, they can't have a voice outside. Okay, so you can't avoid contamination. What you must do is to ensure that there is contact without that contamination. Your child will be exposed to all sorts. They live in a digital world. Everything will come at them, but they need to be able to stand their ground. And it is your job to ensure they have that backbone with you. They will practice with you. Okay, so your child is not growing up in a world without information. They just need context. Provide that context, provide that framework. You can do this within this framework, okay? These are the dangers. You need to be able to make choices. Let them start making choices with mundane things now so that they can get used to it. And then, like Owa said, suggestions. I think you should do this. Love and logic is another approach. Let there be natural consequences for their choices. Allow them to experience it. They're learning about life. We all are on a journey. Okay, so that's what I would say about that.
Yeah, you guys have actually nailed it. Thank you very much. Amara, I want to believe that your question has been well answered. And I am just going to add to,
thank you.
I'm going to add to it by asking the question, how are you actually correcting this child? Because that's also very important. And the two of them have said a lot about that. You know, I think I mentioned here some time ago how that a child was brought to my office, and this child had been on, I think it was around April, and it was discovered that this child has been on TikTok, a Muslim community. I'm not saying it is wrong, but I am saying this because this child is from a Christian family where the father and the mother are deacon and deaconesses in a church. And all they do that they think they are doing is they do family devotion. They don't go out. It's from school, home, church, home, you know, that triangle life. But this girl now writes well. She constructs good sentences in Arabic. She prays 5 times in a day in the house, and the parents were not aware. And they just bumped on her one day in the guest room where she was doing it. And when I had this interface with her, she just said she was curious. And she was curious, and this community was so excited, and they were already turning her mind against what her parents were already teaching her. You see, social media, we have, like Desola said, a child that does, the 8-year-old that got that from social media. You know, we have the good and we have the bad, but you need to educate your children before you even hand over the device. And that's the mistake most of us made. Of course, we know that COVID came and we all have to move on. We all have to go there. Our life, the children have to school. They have to take their school from the social, from the device. And that was when all this, but it is not too late for a 12-year-old. You just need to sit her down and let her understand the implications of doing some things. And she's so smart. She has different accounts. And that's why I'm asking, how have you been correcting her? Are you stalking her? Are you making her feel somehow about those? And that's why she will have different accounts. You say, of course, you can't nab me anyway, because that is what her friends are doing. And she's hearing all the gist, you know. So we need to pay attention to how we are correcting them. And if you don't mind, you can reach out to me so that we can have a session with that child and also with you. This is part of the things we do to also help parents in this community, so that if you have any complex situation, we can guide you on how to handle all that. Okay, so I see Lenji Group. There's another question. What is the approach to use when a child is grown up with series of devices? And he also talked about there are some male children having dreadlocks and parents saying, I guess he's trying to say seeing nothing wrong in that. I identified that many of them use drugs. I know that we are now attributing drugs to dreadlocks. Unwa, please, I need you to briefly respond to that. Why Unwa is coming up, I want to appreciate Olanike. She's so sensitive with it, and she said it is subtle and powerful. And that is the best word to describe this section this morning. Thank you very much. Unwa, are you still there? Can you please respond to that question? Did you get the question? Okay, I think Unwa's network. Okay, she said, thank you. Did you get the question?
Yes, sorry, no, I didn't. I was frozen for a bit.
Yeah, so the person is saying, what is the approach to use when the child is growing up with series of vices? Then that same person also talked about there are some children growing up having dreadlocks and parents are not seeing anything wrong in it. And is that okay? Said, I identify that many of them use drugs. So I'm saying that we have started attaching drugs to dreadlocks and all. So I just want you to just educate us on, like we said, this is the reality we will be battling with. And the earlier we get educated, the better for us. Yes, thank you, Unwa.
Thank you very much. This generation that we're better, this generation that we're grooming, they don't fit, the syllabus has changed. That's what Desola and tried to ensure that they emphasized when they were laying the foundation. So the way we used to see things, we need to change the glasses we're wearing. You see things that we associate like dreadlocks. See you, Coach Desola, you need to, are you on drugs, man? We should check you. We should check you. Exactly. So that's the point. Things like those outward things, it really is not, it will be, we need to change our perspective, we need to change our mindsets. That's what I'm going to say. That's the way we were fighting SARS when they were stopping young people because they had laptops and devices saying they were Yahoo boys. It was wrong to generalize everybody that had dreads and a device as a Yahoo person. So if we see that as not acceptable, then why do we see a young person who is just walking on the streets with dreadlocks as being something wrong? That just might be the way the child has decided to express themselves. And if the earlier we accept or make room in our hearts for things like that, the better. I know there's somewhere in our African hearts that can't take it. We can't take it that, why are the parents not saying anything? Those parents have had their fair share of battle in their hearts. They've had their own fair share of the battle. They've had the discussion with their child, I'm sure, and they have come to terms with it. So this I'm saying now because I have my nephew. How do you explain? I don't know that relationship, but it's my husband's nephew. So I don't know. Will I say that's my nephew? Okay. So he's a very responsible guy, very, very responsible. I love him. I adore him. But then once upon a time, this guy just decided that his afro, and then this afro was not well combed, and then with beards, and also not well groomed. But this guy is deeply spiritual. He's born again. He loves Jesus, tongue talking, demon chasing, and then he is very responsible. So anybody from the outside looking at this guy will be like, why can't the parents say something? The parents are pastors. And they wonder, why won't the parent tell this guy to shave his beard and all that? And anytime I see him, I'll pull the beard. I'll be like, this beard, please don't allow it disappear. Because if it disappear now, there's nothing to do. He say, no, he's just testing something that he'll soon take it off. And that was it. So who am I to wake up and say to somebody else's child that you are looking unkept when he has parents that have 2 eyes that can see? So that statement I made was just for me to hear what he had to say. And he just said he's testing something. If I wanted to take it deeper, I would have taken it deeper to find out what he was testing. And then he gave a gist of once that he had to drive his mother somewhere and they were stopping several cars. But when they got to their car, he just said his mom needs to get to the airport very fast. And they just looked at him and they said, go. He's built. So just looking and they said, well, go. He wasn't stopped. He wasn't harassed, nothing. And I know that might be, the reverse might be the case in some other people's situation. But to say our lenses are painted, it's tainted, and we need to clean it. When we have this perception of people that wear certain things, look a certain way, and term them to be a certain kind of people, let's begin to change all of that, because the grandchildren that are coming, that's for us, or even the children that are coming for us, we don't know where they're going to end. Tomorrow they can be wearing what I don't know. Then to the second question about vices. When we say vices, what have we termed as vices? That's the first question. It's not explicit enough. But then vices means he's a danger to himself and to the society. So when we see people who are a danger to themselves and to the society, then you need help. If you try talking to that child and the child is not listening, then please, let's get help for that child faster. The problem with us in this part of the world is that we wait till the issue is now, as in it has crippled us, before we now start running for help. When we saw the little change or deviation, get help. It's faster to salvage it from that point than to wait till it is now like as if all hell has been let loose before we start looking for a solution. So if that child is a danger to himself, to the society, to people around him, please get help for that child. It will do the child a lot of help. There's nothing you can do to help that child, even speaking at this point. So just get help for the child. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Unwa. Our time is fast spent. Desola, do you have something to say?
Yes, I'll just remind us of what Coach Unwa said when she started. Parenting with love, parenting from a place of love. Love requires us to do different things. Okay, love can be getting help for a child when they require help. Okay, so let us love our children enough to be able to do what they need. Okay, just to remind us of what she said, love requires you to be the person that they need to become the best version of themselves. If that includes getting them committed, if a child, let me not say your child, if a child is a drug addict, has become dependent on drugs, for instance, you won't keep them inside the house and deploy other things other than getting professional help that has been tested and proven to work. So love your child enough to do what is necessary for them.
I'm sorry, I want to chip in something there too. Okay. Thanks a lot, Desola, for that suggestion. It's just because people on the chat room are going off and on. So now I just want to say something to cap this up. Desola said something when she started. Now you are parenting your child. Remove society and what society is imposing on you to impose on your child. Each child cannot be tarred with the same brush. You will make a mistake. We cannot blanket parent all our children. She said something. She said, you have 3 children in a home. They are parented, they are getting a different experience from the parenting that you are giving. That's why you need to be 3 different persons to those 3 different children, because what works for child A might not work for child B. So you don't focus on, somebody said in chat room, let's not emulate the Western lifestyle. I totally get that. But do you know that your children are involved in the Western lifestyle? You need to keep them in a balloon so that they're not seeing anything on the outside. But you introduce them to these things and then you say they should not emulate it. Once you expose them to those things, you have broken that bubble. So they will bring in things that they are seeing. But then let's not damage the child or tear the child because we are trying to say the child is looking a certain way. You are moving your child farther away from you. So the impact or the teaching that you are meant to do on that child, you have lost it. So what is more important to us? Helping this child grow or pleasing the society? So you choose what is more important to you and your parenting journey. Thank you.
Can I just add very quickly? Thank you, Coach Nwa. Let me just add that, look, at the end of the day, the child bears your name. This focus on culture, this is what everybody is doing, this is what looks good, this is what doesn't look good. Let's focus on what we can control. You can't control culture. Now we're suggesting that our African culture there are parts of our culture that we don't even want to interfere or engage with, if we're being honest with ourselves. So if you're not going to adopt the entire culture, then pick what is useful. The Western culture that we are easily castigating, okay, is responsible for the technology that we're using to talk now. Okay, I mean, we're all in different parts of the world because somebody's child decided that I'm going to create a device, or I'm going to create a platform where people can have meetings from all around the world, which was what rescued us during COVID, because the world would have shut down. Planes were not flying, people could not travel home, but people were able to keep in contact with what was with people that are important with them because somebody's child decided to stand up and do something. Okay, so can we focus on what we can control? Can we major on major and leave the minors alone? Dreads is not going to change a child's behavior. Dreads is a method of expression. Like what mine was even born out of convenience. So let's say the boy, this child that you're talking about, just got tired of going to the barber shop and decided, look, I'm just going to let my hair grow out. And maybe his hair naturally locks. Maybe he didn't even do anything to encourage the locking. We don't know the foundation. Okay, major on what is important. What is important to you as a person? The values that your child grows up with. That is what I think is most critical. Your child's worldview is determined by their beliefs and their values. Focus on their value system. Raise your child to be kind, compassionate, daring, right? That a wholesome human being who is able to take on causes, go for things that they believe in, attempt things, right? Change the world. Okay, not just sit down and conform to what one culture said. What we're trying to say, we're forgetting that culture actually has evolved. What we consider African culture today is not what it was, say, 100 years ago. Okay, so if we want to go back to culture, then all of us should first of all tear off our clothes and go back to wearing bante. I don't know what bante is in English, but banana leaves and all of that. Okay, so we cannot say our culture is this, our culture, and we're going to impose that on our children. The question is, what is important to you? Your child is not going to exist in that culture for the rest of their life. That's why some children come to the UK and they get lost because they were not even aware that this part of the world existed. Their parents did not. And then these parents also aspire to have a child who has a Harvard degree. Is Harvard in Lagos? No. This child is going to come to this Western culture that we so very easily can. I'm sorry, I'm a bit emotional about it because I hear things like our culture is good. We need to teach our children our culture. You don't even want to teach your children the entirety of your culture. You want to pick what is reasonable, what aligns with your vision. You want to pick all of that. You want to come to the Western culture. There's something that is common amongst the Western children. Let me share this with you very quickly. They can attempt anything. And I think we take that power away from our own children that we are raised in this contained environment. Go with the flow, don't question status quo, do it how they've always done it so that the result can be how they've always got it. Hello, if everybody did that, there won't be any evolution. The human has evolved into deciding that we can now have cars that fly. If somebody's child is not, why is it not our own children that are doing those kind of things? Why are we trying to contain these children? We are the ones that designed boundaries. God that created the earth didn't put boundaries in place. We are the ones that designed, this is the border, this is the country. Everywhere was one one plain, even space all right? Human beings design those boundaries. So why are you limiting your own child to, this is our culture, this one is bad, this one is good? It is our lens. It is our lens. Kojiwa said it. Our lens is the problem. If we do away with that and we pick the positives, I'm not saying our culture is horrible, but I'm saying there are parts of that culture that even I don't agree with. The way children are treated in our culture, it requires a reconditioning. The fact that children are shut down, they're not allowed to have a voice. A child is fed the scraps while the adults are fed properly, because I don't even want to go there this morning. But let's focus on what we can control. We can raise our children to be broad-minded, to be capable, to be kind, to be compassionate, to look out for others, right? To attempt things, to chase after dreams, to dream big, to dream large, and not be limited. Let's focus on that. When a child's self-esteem is intact, I can promise you that they will not be susceptible to vices. What makes a child susceptible to vices is compromised self-esteem at the foundation. It's a compromised sense of self. If a child has an adequate sense of self, even when they are suggesting, they'll be looking at their future and be like, me, that I'm still going to design, say, the fastest, whatever. I can't come and die now, so I'm not going to fall for. Children on TikTok are attempting funny things. There's a set of children that died in a car accident recently. They were attempting a TikTok trend, or what is it? It's trend, I think that's what they call it. They were attempting something in a car and they got in an accident. Those children were not taught to believe in themselves or to see themselves as adults, fully manifesting themselves. That's why they would attempt something that was so dangerous. And because they are children, they're not smart enough yet. Okay, so let's understand that we're all on a journey. This cultural arguments, gosh, can we just pick what is positive and do away with things like you see a child with dreads and you judge them, and if you go to the hospital and the only surgeon that can save you has dreadlocks, you will make yourself available. So let's do away with most of these things. They are not it's not what is important. That's my own opinion. Who a person is at their core, their values, their beliefs, what they contribute to society, how they see other people, how they treat other people. That, I think, is what is important. Thank you.
Wow. Whoa, I am reading the comments in the chats and I'm just laughing and laughing and laughing. Yes, we have a beautiful culture, but we need to also know that culture is a way of life of a group of people at a particular time in a particular place. That means culture evolves, right? There's some things that were cultural that does not really make sense anymore. Like what Bisola said about it is our culture that says daddy should eat 4 pieces of chicken. And the child in the house, we eat the leg. That was how we were raised. Remember when I was talking, I said something about, it's still culture, right? I said something about being domesticated and being disciplined. We need to understand the difference between discipline and domestication. If care is not taken, a lot of things we do, because it is cultural, is domesticating, and that is why we are losing our sense of identity. It is that thing that these children are fighting against, and we need to pay attention to it. The earlier we do that, the better for us, because we'll be able to deduce the right method. We'll be able to understand how to go about it with these children. This is their reality. If you're talking about culture, then please, can we go back to Ifa and Orunmila lives and leave Christianity? So a lot of things. So if you want to talk about this cultural thing, we wouldn't live here today, but we need to open our mind. We need to be open-minded. We need to be open-minded. Fine, the colonial masters came, they sold even that religion to you. It is not our religion. So if we are saying they came to steal, they came to do this, they came to, and they are exposing us to a lot of things, their mind and their brains are working. They are able to produce and innovate a lot of things. Can we pick those things? Can we open our children's mind to part of those things? I remember before COVID, we are not allowed to use phone in church to read the Bible. You are the most, in fact, you will go to hellfire that very day. The way it was painted, that using phone to read the Bible. Let us get the hard copy. But we can all see now, you can be in your toilet and be reading the Bible. On your phone, you can be in the office. You don't have to carry, for activity's sake, you don't have to carry the book and put on your office table and be reading. You can read and nobody will know. So we should pick the good things about some of those things we're talking about. Culture is good, but if the culture does not permit you to be yourself, then that's not a good culture. And we need to pay attention to those things. That is what these children are fighting against. And if we don't want to lose them, that's one of the reasons why we do this. I dropped my number in the chat box. Please reach out to us. There are a lot of discussion, there are a lot of conversations we need to. I can see that some of those people that are chatting, thank you for joining us for the first time. And I'm so excited that we are having this conversation. Please join us next time. Continue to join us every month. And this is what family meeting is all about, to say that we need to educate ourselves so that we can raise saviors. Why is it our children leave the shore of this land and they are genius outside the country? The system is working. These are the people we are condemning, and they have a lot of things. And now we are even giving ourselves to them as slaves. We are surrendering ourselves to them because our cultural system is not working. And so we want to embrace their culture that is working, that is putting good health care, good medical care, good education system, putting it in place. We need to start thinking about all those things. And I'm glad this conversation went in this direction this morning. What are you doing wrongly? And what do you want to start doing differently? It was Unwa that cited, that quoted Albert Einstein's, that gave us Albert Einstein's quote that you can't keep doing the same thing the same way and expect a different result. That's insanity, and that's what we have been doing in this part of the world. Those children are seeing it differently. Why can't we also do this? And they are challenging us, and we don't want to shut them. I just want to look at what we have. Okay, still hot conversation. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Yeah, different perspective. I understand that. Yes, Ifa and Olumila are rich cultural heritage. Yes, let's embrace it. And by the time we are embracing that, let us also remember that Ifa and Olumila love polygamy. In fact, you can do without, all those things we need to start asking questions and paying attention to. Our time is fast spent on this, and I believe it's Saturday. A lot of people want to go to market, want to go for party, and thank you very much, Desola. Thank you very much, Unwadiuto. I so much appreciate it, and I love you from the depths of my heart. Thank you guys for always joining. There's no family meeting without you, and I honor and celebrate you. I am dropping, so we have a class called New Rules of Parenting. Admin, please, can you drop the link to subscribe for the New Rules of Parenting? Desola, do you have the link? Do you have the link to New Rules of Parenting? I want somebody to just drop the link to subscribe to the New Rules of Parenting. There you are taught how to understand the personality type of your child. If you understand your child's personality type, you're able to create a user's manual like Amara that is having challenges with her daughter. You're able to draw the user's manual. We have a template that will teach you to draw your child's user's manual, and the user's manual, the personality type, their love language. By the time you understand all this, it will be easier for you to raise your child in an awesome way without damaging them. And you will be in charge. Like Desola said, by the time you explain all those things, they are whole. Their identity, their sense of self is intact. Nobody will be able to influence them to do something wrong outside. You see, we say we are raising our children intentionally, but there are some parents that are not intentionally raising their children. And your children are going to interact and mix with this class of children outside. So we need to create that community, and that's part of the things we do here. This community, we call ourselves family meeting, we call ourselves saviors. We are saviors and we are raising saviors. And these saviors are going to take over the world. You see, this culture that we are also building, it is the culture that the children will live their life by. We are able to see the Western, the African culture, and we're able to balance it. And we teach the method which parents can use to raise their children. So Amara, please reach out to me, and you can also look at it. So you can see the link. You can join the Alpha Code Parenting. Yeah, the link is also there. We are able to balance all those things, all those challenges. My phone number is there. You can reach out to me. And who else wants us to talk about culture? Lenji Group, thank you very much. Yeah, please, these are the things we have to share today. And it's been an amazing time. Thank you so much, Desola, once again. Thank you, Unwa. We'll continue to have such conversations, and we will also we'll also invite you again and again on this platform. Thank you very much, guys. There's a particular video